Oh.
I got. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to I am your host, Tyrone Bridges. Let's get it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to welcome you. We want you to sit back and relax your mind while we express the way we feel this evening. We hope that our musical vibrations leave an everlasting experience with you. When you leave this evening, go out and
Check, check. Let's talk. Washtenaw County. Let's talk. All right, y'all, let's talk. We got a very special guest, very special guest in the house. Washtenaw County Prosecuting Attorney candidate, Miss Arianne Slay. Please say hi to everybody and let them know you're with us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Bridges, for having me.
All right. She can hear y'all, I guess. I'm gonna bring this music down so we can get started, y'all. Once again, y'all know who it is. I'm Tyrone Bridges. What I thought you knew, I am your host of this podcast live. Once again, we are doing this via Zoom, recorded, and we're gonna upload it, but we're doing it live right now. If y'all can see, we're on Facebook Live on our Thought You Knew page. We have Miss Slay with us. She is a candidate for the Washtenaw County Prosecuting Office, and we called her to the table, and she actually came to the table. Welcome, Miss Slay.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Bridges. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Hey, no problem. First of all, I like to pay my dues and give my disclaimer to everybody because everybody wanted to know that if I'm gonna be 100% real, keep that same energy up. I'm gonna keep that same energy. So for disclaimers, for my listeners and my viewers, anybody don't like any curse words or anything like that, please forgive me and sign off. I see you, Shannon. Thank you very much, y'all. We have got that business out the way. Here we go. We're going to get this interview started live, 100% real questions from Ms. Slay. I'm going to open the floor to you with the two hard questions that I have for you. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the previous interview with Hugo Mack, but the question that I'd like to know and our listeners would like to know is the campaign contributions that you received from Brian Mackey's office. Mm-hmm. And we would like to know what's up with that. Talk to us about that. You here on the show right now. Everybody's listening.
Okay. Well, I did get campaign contributions from Brian Mackey and other people in law enforcement. But if you heard anything about last weekend's forum, this is something we talked about for kind of extensively. I am no more beholden to anyone who gives me $1 than I am to anyone who votes for another candidate. My job as Washtenaw County Prosecutor is to take care of everybody, regardless of who they supported in the election or who they didn't. And you have to remember that it's not giving money to me. This money's not going into my household. This money is going to communicate my vision. So I believe the people who were fortunate enough or believed enough in my message that I would be the best caretaker of our community supported the vision. Okay, they supported the vision. And one of the ways you can do that is you can post a yard sign. You can make phone banking calls. You can be a social media contributor. You can participate in these discussions that we're having about all of the candidates, not just for prosecutor, but for every race that's out there. Or you can financially contribute as well. And you only financially contribute to the person who you think is the best candidate on the slate. I'm sure Mr. Mackey and other people in law enforcement have their reasons, But I believe it's because they know I know how to handle myself in a courtroom. They know that I treat everybody equitably. And more so, they know that what my vision is. I have been very clear about that. And if you have 3 to choose from, that means that they're believing in my vision and what we want to do in the county. Now, I'll be quite honest with you, Mr. Bridges, if people are concerned that because Mackey's gave me money or law enforcement gave me money, that we're going to have business as usual. And that can't be farther from the truth. I left the Washtenaw County Prosecutor's Office almost 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years this fall. And I'm still a prosecutor. I'm in the city of Ann Arbor. I'm the senior assistant city attorney there. And if I wanted to have Mackey's office number 2, 3 blocks away, I would have gone ahead and did that. I charge the same types of cases, minus the domestic violence cases and child abuse, that the state prosecutor's office charges, and we run courtrooms at the exact same time. I'm in front of one judge, the state prosecutor from Mackey's office is in another, and it looks completely different. I broke away from that office. I couldn't do it anymore. And I did diversion program. I started a deflection program on the principles of restorative justice, and all those other things that my competitors are talking about I'm gonna do, I will do, I'm already doing it, and I've been doing it for years. So if I wanted to have something similar to what Mackey had, I wouldn't have had to think about it. I just would have had to come over and set up shop. But that's the complete opposite of what I've done. So, you know, a lot of people contributed. We've raised over, I think we're right at about $100,000 that we've raised since January. I'm no more beholden to any of those people who gave me a single penny than I am the person who has no pennies to rub together.
So you pledging on the show right now, and you actually telling the viewers and the listeners today that the money that you receive from Brian Mackey's office does not, will not, and have not affect your vision and your campaign strategy that you're bringing into the Washtenaw County area as the new prosecutor.
It will absolutely not affect my vision or my commitment to this community. And I'm not asking you just to take my word of what it will be. I'm asking you to take my word and look at what I've done. If I wanted to run an office like Mackey's, mine would look exactly the way his does. I had all the autonomy in the world. And what I did was I started the criminal justice reforms my opponents are talking about. I started this path that we are on to end mass incarceration. We ain't talking about it. We are not stealing things from other jurisdictions that say, oh, we could do this because we do it out in Philadelphia. We do it in Boston. No, no, no. I use the resources that we have right here based on the laws that we have right here to get this started. And it's successful. It's working. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have run if it wasn't. Because I feel like me coming back to the county prosecutor's office, this is what I'm bringing back. On top of the trial experience, on top of the training and all the other experience I bring, I'm bringing the reforms back, the blueprint, so that we are not just doing this in Ann Arbor, that we are doing this on the other side of 23 as well.
All right, all right. That right there actually says it all, period. She just announced that if she get a Brian Mackey dollar, that's not weaning her decision to do any type of thing the same way Brian Mackey did it. I have no reason to doubt her for that right now, because she said it, she want people to follow up on her too. She want people to get behind her, make sure she do everything she say, right? Absolutely. You want to make sure if you are a prosecutor and we see an increment of Brian Mackey's vision, we get to check you and actually do whatever we need to do, garner up recall petitions and whatever we have to do as a community to call you to the carpet.
And Mr. Bridges, I'll make it even easier for you, because what I have committed to do when I start in 2021 is that I want to have a community advisory board that meets regularly. And so that would include anyone from the community who wants to come listen. It would include people from the mental health community, the substance abuse community, a youth member, previously incarcerated people, getting our community partners together to talk about the issues that we're having in law enforcement, not just with the prosecutor's office, but with our police as well. And so that if there is an issue going on in the community or somebody sees something they don't like, do we have an opportunity to talk about it? outside of the fact that I'm personally accountable to all 360-some thousand people in Washtenaw County. So make an appointment. Call me on the phone.
So you'll pick up the phone. You'll answer.
I'll pick up the phone.
Oh my God.
The main number is 222-6620. Just hit 0 and they'll take you to the front desk. I still remember it.
Well, y'all. Hey, listen here now. That right there sounds good. That sounds real good. I just wanted to know just about that finances, because that right there, look, Brian Mackey, we know, everybody know my story between Brian Mackey and me trying to gain my life back, and Brian Mackey ain't been playing fair. Brian Mackey actually has been writing letters against me and stuff. So I'm so glad he on his way up out of there, but I needed to find out for myself, because a lot of people are saying that she is Brian Mackey 2.0, and basically they're talking like that you got a leash around your neck by Brian Mackey, and you got a husband, right? You got a husband. Right? So you ain't wait. And your husband ain't got no worry about you doing the prosecutor's office or even mangling with any of them attorneys up in there. He trusts you, don't he?
He should.
He trusts you.
Absolutely.
And he ain't gonna worry about you rubbing your legs with nobody and trying to get in. Oh, okay. So a lot of people been talking about this sister, and I got her on my show. She came. I even talked about her. I blasted her the first couple. I didn't think she was gonna come, but I took my words back. I had to hear from her. And when I first talked to her, we'll talk about this at the end of the show. When I first talked to her a couple days ago, and correct me if I'm wrong, I asked you a off-the-record question, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
A serious question. You remember that question I asked you? Now, let's not divulge it until the end, because I posed the same question to Hugo off the record.
Okay.
All right. I posed the same question to Hugo Mack off the record. And then the next candidate, I'm not going to mention his name because it's your show. Okay. I'm going to pose the same question to him. I'm going to see where they at. All this, she ain't. Look here, y'all. She ain't paid for nothing in this show. I don't know her from Adam. I accused her of being in Brian Mackey's office when Brian Mackey was writing letters against me when I was trying to get clemency. That was my fault. I own up to it. And I told her that on the phone conversation. She corrected me. Whoa, bruh. I wasn't even in his office during that time. I got you. And then also, please expunge on the Ann Arbor case, the one we talked about, the young lady who got killed.
With Ms. Rosser?
Yes, please, because I don't know the facts of it. I ain't even gonna lie. I don't know nothing about it. I just hear, and I don't like to carry no hearsay. I don't like to pass rumors around. I don't like to listen to other opponents or other people saying that you did something wrong. Please clear that up, sis.
So, Miss Rosser was shot and killed by an Ann Arbor police officer well over 5 years ago. And Mr. Mackey's office did not handle it well. And this is why I feel that we should be doing in the future. Anytime there is an allegation of excessive force, police brutality, police officers using inappropriate language, racially charged language, anything like that, it needs to be reviewed for criminal charges. It should not be reviewed in Washtenaw County. And let me tell you why I say that, because it's the appearance of impropriety. Perceived or real, doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything to promote public trust. So trust and believe, if that's something like that happens in Washtenaw, it's going out to the Attorney General's office. And I'm gonna say, Dana Nessel, please give us an impartial prosecutor on this. Somebody who doesn't know anybody, somebody who's not involved or connected to Washtenaw County, and let them review it. Because you can't sit next to somebody for a few days and do maybe a drunk driving trial or a child abuse trial, and then the very next day review their warrant request
Well, time
to
out.
find out if they did a criminal act or not.
Hold on. I think you said a little breaking news right here, because what I just heard in the last segment, that Hugo wouldn't refer it out
Yes.
to the Attorney General. But your request was to refer it out to the Attorney General and have some other independent eyes on it, fresh eyes.
That's how I would have done it. Now, when I was in the prosecutor's office, there's Mackey, there's his deputy chief, there's first assistants, then there's line prosecutors. I was a line prosecutor, so I didn't have any decision-making authority. And at that time, I only did domestic violence related cases, so I didn't have any involvement in the case. However, what I'm saying is it should have gone out, because the public needs to be able to trust what comes out of the investigation. And so I feel that that's super important, and that we need to be doing that going forward. Now, I will tell you, I never met Miss Rosser, but about 2 weeks before, there was a warrant request with her name on it. She had been involved in an altercation with the gentleman who was there that same night that she was killed. And I will tell you that I denied the case, and I did not charge her with a criminal offense. In fact, Safe House Center, which is a local place for you can go if you have issues with domestic violence or intimate partner violence or sexual assault, Safe House was actually contacted. Now, Mr. Mack's gonna let people believe that I've been out, like I knew her and turned her away for services. I never met her. I reviewed the report a couple days after it happened, ensured that Safe House was notified, and that was it. That was my role. So I never met her, unfortunately. I wish I had. But I didn't charge her with a criminal offense, which was requested.
You just cleared up something too, because I see when you try to get all the people together with no BS on the table, sometimes BS slips in, and I see. So I actually wanted to hear from you about that case, because it's going to roll over into the next case and the next case and the next case while we're talking about cases, if you don't mind. And
No,
straightforward. The McGrady case,
yeah.
the sister that was beat by that cop. Here's the video. I'm just going to say it like this. Anytime a cop bear hugs someone first, that would cause some type of reaction, and especially if it was out of the blue. I was a quarterback for Ypsilanti High School. Many times I was tackled by them big boys. A lot of times I was tackled wrong. I got up and was ready to fight. I know when I seen the video of that cop run over and bear hugged her, just like the last segment, I said I seen Jerry Clayton mom being wrapped up by this cop. I seen my mom wrapped up by this cop. I seen you, because you the only sister I'm gonna be interviewing on here live, wrapped up by that cop. A reaction is imminent. What I don't understand, Jerry Clayton and the sheriff department supposed to be transparent. What came first, the chicken or the egg? What he did to us, he did his little tap dance to the public, and it actually tarnished his credibility with the public. A lot of people didn't like that. I didn't like it, and I voted for him 12 years. I know this ain't nothing about your campaign, but I'm talking to you about this because this is loaded and this is serious. The cop grabbed the girl. She might have bit him. Why are the prosecuting attorneys trying to press charges against this woman when the cop initiated first contact?
So I got this for you. First and foremost, remember what I told you before, what we talked about with Ms. Rosser, this isn't a Washtenaw County case. And the sheriff did the right thing in the situation by making sure that this case got sent to the Attorney General to be reviewed, not by Brian Mackey's office, but by independent people. And we haven't heard from the Attorney General if they're pressing charges or not.
Yeah, because of
We're still waiting on that.
But the show Jerry Clayton and Derek Jackson and friends did to the public was tacky at best. Very tacky. Because for one, think about it. The officer had 4 things in his tool belt to use, starting off at the top with lethal if necessary, and at the bottom, mace if necessary. I should say 5 because a baton come in there somewhere. A taser, a gun, a baton, mace. We're in COVID-19 pandemic area and it's affecting Black folks. And he a white cop. He should know better to try to tackle a Black person, and knowing Black people, we the ones dying from this COVID-19. But you tackled her. Bro.
But Mr. Briggs, remember, like I said, when we were going to talk, I got to make sure I'm a prosecutor. Now, my other opponents aren't prosecutors, so they can talk about cases that are pending. But
okay, I don't even want you to comment on it.
The ethical thing to do is to not talk about it and let the AG weigh in.
You're right, but he can't muzzle my ass. He can't muzzle me.
You can say whatever you want.
Sheriff Clayton, you can't muzzle me. And talking to a prosecutor, you ain't God. But what you did, you exhibited bad judgment. That's all I was saying. Now we can go to something you probably is gonna hit your desk soon. If you're a prosecuting attorney, if you get elected, something gonna hit your desk. That shooting that happened in Superior Township, that 6-year-old boy got hit. In that situation, is there anything that you can say to these young Black, these young African Americans that's out here committing crimes, and also address the young men who actually shot the baby, the 6-year-old child? Because you're a mom too. I got kids. God forbid something happen to your kid. So what I'm saying, I'm not telling you to be a prosecutor. I'm telling you to be a damn mama right now. That's what I'm telling you to do. Don't run from the question, because a 6-year-old child, I put the scenario in there that it could be any one of our children. But the public has to get the confidence, whites and Blacks, that you're gonna get justice for that 6-year-old child that got shot. That's what I'm saying. It ain't nothing about, oh, I gotta weigh in on the case. No, common sense, woman. Common sense, no disrespect. Let's use common sense.
Well, hold on now. So first of all, I'm always a mama, and I have a 7-year-old son, and I think about his safety every single day.
Well, talk to
and
that
I think about it twice every time he leaves this house. And so I understand that. I will evaluate every case fairly, and here's the thing about me. I understand how to thread the needle. And this is the needle that I'm talking about, because we can talk about using restorative justice, we can talk about diversion, we can talk about deflection, but what has been missing from almost every conversation we've had in any of these prosecutorial forums is, what do you do when something really bad happens? What do you do when a kid is raped? What do you do when a child is shot? What do you do when there's very serious domestic violence going on in a household? What do you do then? And you know what? You need to be able to distinguish between the two. You need to be able to have the experience to say, okay, there's some really strong lethality factors right here in the beginning. This maybe isn't appropriate for restorative justice. This maybe isn't appropriate for diversion or deflection. This maybe is somebody who can't be in our community and can't be safe. And so taking a look at each individual fact pattern, and that is the one thing that I promised you that I'm going to end when I run into the prosecutor's office, which is the blanket policies and treating every case and every individual, every victim, every defendant the same, because they're not. There's multiple reasons why somebody can be justice involved. There are multiple reasons which led someone into this unfortunate incident where they become victim of a crime. You have to meet people where they are, and then you act accordingly. We're not going to walk in and say, you know, and I'll tell you this right now. When I was a new prosecutor, they used to say that if you're going to reduce something to a felony to a misdemeanor, make sure that you give more than one misdemeanor with no hiatus so they won't be eligible for expungement later. That's what I was trained to do. Never did it, but that's what I was told to do. So the blanket policies are going to end first and foremost. And I'm going to look at every case and figure out what we're looking at here. Are we looking like a danger to our community? Are we looking at something that somebody can't come back from? Then we're going to handle it accordingly. We're not going to say we're going to use restorative justice just because someone asks. That's not how this works.
Well,
it is my responsibility to make sure that not only are we safe in our own homes and in our own neighborhoods, that the police are being accountable for their actions, but we're also responsible for our charging decisions. So there aren't going to be any charging decisions where we're, charging on 10 because, we're upset, we're mad, but we could have charged on a 5 to get the job done. Because this is the case that we feel like somebody could not have to leave our community for. Overcharging is a problem. Coercive pleading is a problem. Well, I'll promise you this, is I will look at everything individually. The blanket policies, they're gone. I have no such policies in my current office, nor have I ever since I started in the city of Ann Arbor almost 3 years ago. Everyone is treated as an individual. Everyone is treated as a respected member of this community, no matter what reason they come to the court for. Victim and offender alike, it doesn't matter.
So that actually
you're going to get a fair shake in my courtroom.
That actually rolls over into another one of my questions, and I'm glad I heard that, because that's that would affect me. And I know you weren't in Brian Mackey's office at the time of me making my bid for clemency. As a prosecutor, if you're elected, there's many people out here like me that went to prison one time. I got an A prefix. A prefix. I had a 20-year tail, a 20-year max.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Mackey's office has caused my case to have a life sentence. Anytime you got a prosecutor that will block a bid for clemency for a person like myself, like I said, I don't know you from a can of paint, just like you don't know me from a can of paint, but you have heard of my black ass in this community. You heard of some stuff that I've been doing in the community. I'm pretty sure that you heard of me. Not out here committing crimes. I didn't come back out here in the carousel of recidivism. But what I got Brian Mackey, current prosecuting attorney, making letters blocking my bid for clemency when I was running for mayor in 2014, and Derek Jackson, through the voice of Kathy Wyatt, specifically told me before that they wouldn't support the letters. Derek Jackson wouldn't support a letter for me. Kathy Wyatt told me, no, Jerry can't write no letters of support for you. I've been out here a long time, 31 years in these streets doing positivity. That's out of prison. That's out of prison. I came out of prison January 15th, 1993. Martin Luther King celebrated his birthday on that date, and I celebrated my release to doing positivity in the community. If you're the prosecutor of Washtenaw County, and I'm saying not just my situation, I'm talking about other black men that was I call them the 80s babies, the late 80s babies, because all of them from the south side of Ypsilanti. I'm talking about Shannon Rich, life sentence, because he did something when he was young. Life thrown away. Should never happen like that. Me, I'm walking on the streets, life sentence, because a butting-in prosecutor, Brian Mackey, and an African-American sheriff, through his assistant, refused to write me a letter of support of getting a bid for clemency. I got facts, emails, and everything to back everything I say up. Derek Jackson ain't never supported me. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're the prosecutor, that top cop in Washtenaw, would you allow people that's in elected positions to work against people like myself who ain't committing no crime? A cop even saw me run into a burning damn house trying to save somebody. He was like, damn, it was the Chinese cop. The only Chinese cop y'all ass had. I know specifically. He was like, damn, Tyrone. I was like, I'm not trying, that's just my natural instinct. That's what I do. Right over there next to Ipsy High School, a burning house. I run in a burning damn house, not in front of nobody. The cops came late. I'm damn near dying of damn smoke inhalation. I done everything. Help young black men turn them around, young black women turn them around, seniors. And I got Brian Mackey, Jerry Clayton, top cop, and his administration don't fuck with me. Do you think something wrong with that picture? Or do you think at least if they getting taxpayers' dollars plus some, shouldn't they answer to that? Why ain't y'all messing with Tyrone? He been out here, he was out in the gang era when he created Blackwatch Security to help bust up these damn gangs doing drive-by shootings. I got history. It's past 5 o'clock. I ain't heard nothing from Sheriff Clayton. He's actually snubbed me from even coming on the show. So what I'm saying, you're going to be the top prosecutor. You are accountable because you came on the show. You ain't scared of me because I curse. You probably heard more than that in the courtroom. You ain't afraid. So what I'm not even trying to ask you to speak for Jerry Clayton, but it's a logical damn statement. Why can't he come on the show and speak real and speak open and speak honest? Or is he afraid of a show like this? He can't say he don't talk to ex-felons. He just did an interview with an ex-felon quite often. So what I'm saying is, you're the leader. Would you do the same thing Brian doing without a good valid reason to hold someone down like myself and many others who trying to get their name back, get their life back?
I got a longer answer for you, but the answer is no, because I'm going to look at everything individually, and everybody gets a set of fresh eyes when I take office. So I'm not beholden to what somebody said before. I'm not beholden to, I won't promise anybody anything, but what I will say is I'm going to give you a fair and honest look at each particular request from the prosecutor's office. And that comes from whether there's a clemency petition, there's an expungement petition. And let me tell you where I'm coming from, though. I started my career working down in the jail, like way long time ago, pre-Sheriff Clayton days, when I worked for the trial court at Community Corrections. I did everything from urine testing, tether, you name it.
Was Ron Scheibel the sheriff then?
Minzy.
Minzy
was, yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, but I worked for the court. I just had an office down in the jail. Okay.
Wait, hold that point. Sorry. Before you say that, I wanted to make sure you know this. FYI, here's a news flash. Ron Scheibel, he was a Republican. Dan Minzy are the two white sheriffs that helped me. They allowed me to go back down in the jail and talk to inmates about trying to turn their life around. That's missing.
Program.
There you go. All right, take the phone back. And domestic violence. And domestic violence.
When I was down in the jail, I would help people to make sure that they had a plan for when they got out. And if the court let me, people could come out before their release date, and I would supervise them in lieu of being in jail so they could get back to their families, they could get back to job, they could get back to life.
Wow.
And so one of the things that I did was to set people up with services. So we figure out, like, what do you need when you get out? You need a place to live? We're going to call Avalon Housing. We're going to call Hawk. We're going to call the Shelter Association. You're dealing with substance addiction. We're going to call Dawn Farm. We're going to call Home and New Vision. We're going to call Access and get you a screening first. You need a work? Man, we call him Clay at Michigan Works. Like, come on, Clay. Like, and sometimes he come down to the jail too, right? We had a whole, you needed stronger services. You needed inpatient substance abuse, inpatient mental health. We found that for you, and we have funding for it. For 90 days, we would set you up. And that's where I came from, is because my goal then and now is that just because you have an interaction with law enforcement does not mean you should be worse off. We should be, as a community, working together to invest in your future so we don't see you again in this capacity.
I change lives. I still change lives without.
Root cause. Now, as a prosecutor, though, my role kind of changed, right? But what we didn't have in those days, which I have right now, and I will bring back to that office, is the ability to have foresight for people. We're denying you the opportunity to be in a diversion program when you clearly qualify. Have you heard of HIDA, the Homes Youthful Trainee Act?
I know every damn program in Washtenaw County. I wish it would have applied to me back in the days. I'd be clean and free. I pistol tote and everything. I could be doing it. But
so
no.
we used to say, so HIDA is a program, for those of you who don't know out there, HIDA is a program that if you are 17 to 24, you can have a non-conviction on your record for most offenses. It doesn't include rape, it doesn't include murder, right? It doesn't include drunk driving, third offense, or any drunk driving, but most of the crimes are included in that. And it allows you to have a period of probation or probation incarceration, and at the end of it, if you complete it, then you don't have a criminal conviction.
You know what? I should have been grandfathered. I should have been grandfathered in. I should have been wait, for real, you heard of the grandfathered in. I should have been grandfathered in because my conviction was in December of 1989. I learned a lot when I was locked up. I learned how to be a better criminal. I want you to hear me, prosecutor. Wait a minute, prosecutor. Listen to me. Listen to my story. It might help you out here. I didn't even tell Hugo this because he was a former criminal. When I got locked up at the age of 19 years old, do you know that was the best experience for a person who wanted to come back out in the street and either A, commit more crimes, B, be a dangerous criminal, or C, take the knowledge that I took from being incarcerated and make myself into a better person. The knowledge that they teach these young boys when they locked up. Listen, this is something you don't hear from an ex-felon. Maybe the world needs to take a note. They teach them how to be better fucking criminals. When you lock up a young man at the age of 19 years old, and I'm doing time with lifers, people who have been in the military, they teaching you things that the average person would not need to know out here on the street. They teaching them how to be terrorists. I've talked to a bunch of people. When you lock up a young black man, he already see the world against his ass. You gonna drop me off in them Desmo Crips, that's what we call them, in the penitentiary, in the belly of the beast, in hell, amongst goons, amongst killers. I did time with a guy who killed his mama, his daddy, his sister, and his motherfucking brother. And he taught me some stuff. He said, you ain't never gonna be able to own a gun, but you can be the best destructive Negro out here when time comes. I came out and I did a 180. I didn't come out here and kill nobody. My first mission, I came out here, stop black on black crimes. Black on black violence was my movement. When I lost my friend due to a drive-by on the south side of Ypsilanti, I formed a security squad called Black Watch Security because I couldn't get help from Mayor Cheryl Farmer at the time, because she said, I don't want no vigilantes. You see, I wasn't working with the police. I was working with the communities, because our babies had to go to school and dodge damn bullets during that time. The cops was too fucking scared to come out. So here, a black man coming out of prison, enough is enough. You're not gonna come to my community. I formed a security squad of over 20 brothers and one sister. We got what we needed. And we did what we did. In secret and out in public. Bottom line. That's the type of brother that you always should support. But you got a man, Jerry Clayton, you as a black politician, as a sister that want to be top cop of the nation, of our nation. I'm talking about Washtenaw County, y'all, we big. We all over the news about stuff. But what I'm saying, ain't them the allies that you should have?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be, wait, shouldn't someone have found funding to give a person like me a salary, not to work in the sheriff department? I don't want to never work in no damn sheriff department after being incarcerated. But I'm talking about do what I do now. I don't get funding doing what I do now. God pays me. I got $6 in my damn pocket. And I'm out here trying to help a family in Superior Township. Trying to help them. There's a husband and a wife confined to their wheelchairs. Been out of the house 6 months. 6 straight months. Can you imagine what their house looked like? Can you imagine? And they had a dog too. Rodents running, rats running all over in the area. Yeah, Superior Township got rats. Ypsi Township got rats, and Ypsi got rats too, damn it. That's something you can work on. Anyhow, they are confined to wheelchairs. And I put out a blast to everybody. Asked the reporter, Sarah Riggs. I cried to her. The chairperson, Justin Hodge, I cried to him on the phone. My tough ass crying. I'm crying because I saw my mama in this woman, my best friend. Her and her husband confined to wheelchairs. She only had a foot. She got to crawl out the damn house to get in her wheelchair. And none of you motherfucking politicians knew about it, unless my black ass brought it out. That's why I'm angry. Because you know you got angels working around here. You fail to acknowledge them. I don't want nobody's check. Help that family. If you get elected, can some of your campaign dollars, after you get elected, go toward helping that family? Or after this Zoom interview, can you please make an appeal to some of your friends, even Sheriff Clayton, to answer the call to help a former brave that needs the motherfucking help? Please, it is not your problem, but I'm putting it on your lap. Because politicians, trifling ass, got campaign signs in her yard and don't even know that she is hurting. Their house is hurting. They don't have a wheelchair ramp. But through the grace of God, God let me put the blast out to all of the Ypsilanti, former Ypsilanti Braves who are contractors. And a white man was the first one called me back. He said, Tyrone, I cried to him. Keith, I'm putting your name out there. And he told me, what you need, bro? I know her. She's an excellent person. We got elected officials. We got commissioners. We got people who are holding office, seeking election. But God, they don't even know that the constituents is down on their knees, literally. Period. That's the concern of me. I ain't worried about the hating Brian Mackey no more, because he gonna go out. God gonna take care of him. Even the crooked judge that screwed over all my child support cases. I got documentations on him too. But I let God handle them. But I'm making an appeal to you as the top cop. I know you can't know everything, but we have to put together in the county, and I'm asking you, if you get elected, an emergency response team with selected members of the community that knows the community, not selected by no damn sheriff, selected by people in the county, not none of their friends. We want people that are actionary, people who are going to go out there and find these people, or a hotline that we can put together. I know we got 211, but 211 for them damn white folks. 211 don't address this situation that I'm doing. They giving me a list of contacts. Call this agency. We need help now. We ain't talking about 6 months later. We need help now. Your name, just by calling, could probably get us some lumber material so we can build the ramp and get this woman out the house so we can go in there and do what we need to do to help her. So we can have a beautiful story that you could be proud of your constituents, of your county. Don't you like that? That idea would never, ever come across your desk if Jerry Clayton was sheriff. It would never come across your desk.
We should be doing that, because it's going to take a village, not only to help this family in Superior, but to address the fact that we don't have equal access to education on both sides of our county. We don't have access to mental health and physical health services on both sides of our county. We only have to look as far as 3 months ago when the data started coming in on COVID-19, where they were saying, oh, look, all the Black people are dying. That was not news to anyone in our community. That was not news. We knew there was a disparity to begin with. But now, oh, you can't hide from it now. Now you can't. It's out there. We have to address it. And so whether it is building a wheelchair ramp in Superior, whether it is making sure that all of our kids on the eastern side of the county have access to internet and a device to do it so they can go to school safely. I mean, you got to look, my husband and I were talking today, he's a public school teacher, right? And so we were talking about summer school, and a lot of places have summer school, which is great because it's extra enrichment for the kids right now, and they're able to do it online. But guess where they're not doing it online? In Detroit. It's their little social experiment, again, on our Black children, on our babies. Find out if it's safe or not for everybody to go to school, but it's okay to do it there. They're not doing it in the more affluent communities, I'll tell you that. We need to stick up for ourselves. It is amazing and surprising to me about how many allies have come out in support of what's going on in Washtenaw County and in our nation. And I appreciate it. I'm still a little surprised every day, but I appreciate it because what it does is it puts pressure on our elected officials to do something. Pressure that they maybe wouldn't accept before, because it was a couple of us, hollering in the corner saying we need to fix this. Mm-hmm. But this political pressure, and I'll tell you what, for situations like this, I take advantage of that. Now, I wanted, there's been a lot of protests lately. And one of my opponents says, well, I'm always there. I always show up. I go too.
And what happens when the protest's over?
That's one.
There it
but
is.
Just because you're protesting doesn't mean my husband and I go out and we don't speak. We don't need to grab the microphone because that's not why we're there. We're there because we are a Black couple raising Black children in Washtenaw County, and it's time for things to change.
And y'all afraid just like everybody else.
We are not immune. We go same thing. Now, I'll tell you what, my husband, he knows that he can drive certain areas in his minivan and not have any problems.
He gonna clench his wheel too.
Yep, but hold on. He knows that if he drives in his old school car with the player spoke rims, he's gonna have more problems.
So that's like driving while Black. That's stereotype. Yeah, we got to crush that in Washtenaw County.
You see what I'm saying? And so we are there for that. We are there so that my husband isn't scared. So when my son, 9 years from now, when he's behind the wheel, he's not afraid to be pulled over because we don't have that kind of system going on. I want my kids to have the exact same experience as any Caucasian child.
And the voters want the same thing that you want for your kids. That's exactly what we needed to hear.
So, you know, we want to be safe. But at the same time, remember that over-policing, the driving while black, is just as messed up to do the under-policing, right? We'll come, we're going to be there quick, fast, and in a hurry if they're driving while black, or there's a scary black man in my neighborhood. He's just running, right? Or alternatively, you got stuff going on in your community and nobody comes for 2 hours. You need help. We want to be safe in our homes too. We want to be safe in our neighborhoods too. And we need to take a look at that. We need to take a look at that. And I'll tell you what, so the protesting has been great because it is pushing people in positions of authority to make change. And I'm gonna give you an example. There's some protests I wish I was there in heart, but could not be there in person. You want me to tell you what I was doing? I was drafting new policy for the police department.
Wait a minute, turn your volume up. I don't know, say that again.
I'm gonna say it again. I was drafting new policy for the police. Now, my new policy that we had coming out in Ann Arbor is if you see something, you must say something, okay? Well, I'm talking about we're not gonna have 3 officers standing there watching another officer beat somebody, kill somebody, be racially insensitive, use slurs, drop the N-word. We ain't doing that because you know what? If you do, you're going to be held accountable based on this policy that I've written. It doesn't matter what your rank is. If you've been on the force 2 days or 20 years, it all applies the same. And you have to physically intervene and you have to report when you get back. And if you don't, you will be held accountable because that's a lot of a problem that we have is that we don't have policies that can hold our police accountable.
Can you hold on for a second? Let me push the heart button on Facebook. Hold on. Damn it.
No.
This ain't biased, but I had to say, I'm pushing the heart button.
Heart that. We all need to heart that. Yes, because what I'm saying.
I actually had hands in police policy too when I was a human relations commissioner for the city of Ypsilanti. The complaint policy was a little biased. And I led the charge against the police department to actually come to the table and talk with us and tell us why your policy is like that. A lot of people don't even know I did that. A lot of people don't even know that I was on the Human Relations Commission and I was the #1 leader of the Ban the Box initiative. That's, you know.
I'm so glad that passed. That's good. But what I'm saying is we need to be accountable to our community. And the way we do that, so I'm also in Ann Arbor for the last 4 years, I've been the liaison for the Independent Police Commission.
Wow.
And so that is a group of civilians who review the complaints after they've been to the police station and they check up to make sure that the proper procedure and protocol was filed, that the discipline, if it was put on to an officer, was appropriate. And then they go back and double check the policies to make sure we don't have a problem in our policy that's going to cause more complaint, more issue, more racism, more sexism, whatever the case may be. We're going to check on it and we're going to double check. And then we're going to tell the entire community about what we learned. And I think every police agency should have that.
So this breaking news, once again, let me rewind this for a second here. While we was out there protesting and others was out there protesting, I wasn't at all of them. I got video footage of where I was at. You were creating change in the law enforcement policy.
Yes.
That would directly correct problems that may have existed that's reflected on some of the other departments throughout the country and the behavior or the bad behavior in your office. Basically, you telling me right now, if you elected prosecuting attorney, top cop in the county, that your policy is saying 0 tolerance, we are not going for this, we're not having this in our county. Say that loud for the audience, because I got 20 viewers. At this time, that's 20 votes times 10. Talk.
Number 1, we ain't going for it. Number 2, we will make a public issue of what you did. You will not do your dirt in secret. But number 3, we're going to make sure that there is that independent person that's going to be reviewing it, because we don't want to have anyone saying we're hiding behind the thin blue line, we're hiding, law enforcement sticking together. You will be held accountable. But in terms of the staff of the prosecutor's office, not at all. We ain't doing it. We ain't doing it. We're not having it. That's not how it's doing.
Y'all heard it first live on I Thought You Knew. She said she ain't going for it. I don't know what everybody is thinking about.
So let me tell you,
she is this and she is that, and she actually said this.
Can I tell you why I love the protests right now? I mean, we've slowed down on them. So I love them because they've taken advantage of this appetite we have in our community for change. I love that. My mama was a great protester. She protested. Her last and biggest one was when she was a young woman, was the Democratic Convention of '68.
Okay.
She got tear gas. She loved it. She was there with my grandmama. She's now, rest in peace, Betty Lou, but they were there together.
All right.
And so my daddy always used to say, your mama is the best protester. She makes great signs. She's going to be out there. She's vocal, and she encourages people to join in with her, because that puts the pressure on the people who need it to make change, that we have a will of the community that needs to be heard. But protest without progress is for naught. Somebody has to pick up that demand from the community and do something with it. Not say I will do something with it, but I have done something with it. I have taken advantage of that opportunity that we have had right now, contemporaneous to what we are doing in this community. We are making change, and change doesn't come overnight, but it takes one policy at a time. It takes one training moment at a time. It takes our voices standing in unity in a protest to put the people who are in power to make sure that they are doing that. Now, my dad, I think I'm more like him than my mom. As great as she is, I'm more like my dad. My dad was a police officer coming out of Vietnam. And he was the first Black police officer who was hired at his agency in Northwest Indiana. And they didn't hire another one for 20 years. But he also was the first Black command officer in the state of Indiana as well. He broke some ceilings. And I didn't know what that meant because I was very young, and he retired in the early 80s when we moved to Michigan. I was still in grade school. And I asked him later, why he would be a police officer. Like, why? Like, think about what they do. Think about what that culture of being police. And I knew my dad wasn't like that. I knew my dad was caring of our community. He was the cop who was going to bring you groceries. Mm-hmm. He was the cop who was going to bring your kid home from school when he didn't have a ride and it was snowing. Like, he was that cop.
He was almost like that community cops, the cops that I grew up with, Kevin Dorsey.
Yes, he was. Yeah. Yes, like Kevin Dorsey.
My man, Kevin Dorsey.
Yes,
my man.
absolutely.
We need more Kevin Dorseys on the doggone law. Hey, I can't start away from Eugene Rush. He been there too. So yeah.
And so what I'm saying is we have some of these beautiful human beings that serve our community as police officers, but the culture is known in the community thinks very poorly of them. So I would ask my dad why he would go into this. Mm-hmm. And he said, somebody has to be the change that we need. And he said, somebody has to get in there and change the policy. Somebody has to get in there and make people feel like they are represented. And we have some pretty amazing people who serve as law enforcement officers right here in Washtenaw County. Gene Rush being one of my favorites, right? He is a good man who is out there taking care of people and showing that respect, right?
He's one of my mama's favorites. Him and Dorsey. They used to come in my mama's house and kick it with her. My mama fed their ass. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sure she did.
God rest his soul.
Absolutely. So my dad, when he was coming up the day before he left his house for almost 30 years, on that day, his dad was lynched
Mm.
in the lowlands of Kentucky. And they strung him up and they beat him and they left him at the police station to die. And I asked him, knowing what those men did to Bob Moe, how could you do this? How could you want to join them? And he said, I'm going to be there for the kid who needs to report something that has bad happened in their life. I didn't have anyone to go to. I will be the change. I will be that person. And we have several of those people. And so we need to commend the people that are doing the right thing. But we need to hold accountable the ones who are not, because they make it bad for everybody. They perpetuate this culture that we've had of too much authority, right? Now, I want to challenge you, Mr. Bridges, on something. Because you said you'd never join the sheriff's department after your experience. But my challenge is, and this is to everyone out there, be the change that you want to see. Now, Mr. Bridges, you have gifts and talents, and you are out there making a difference in our community. You are taking care of people who are vulnerable and who do not have the access to everything. You're being their voice. And so I appreciate the work that you have done. But for those of you who are out there who are thinking, you know, I'm 16, 17, 25 years old, there is a home for you in law enforcement. There is a home for you in the prosecutor's office. There is a home for you in somebody's law school, and it is not going to be easy. Because I will tell you, there are days where it is hard, where you are the only person, the only Black person in the courtroom who's Black, who's not awaiting trial. And that there are going to be people in that courtroom that like the way that looks. And you're going to have people in the courtroom that don't even notice it because of their entitlement. And you're going to have to work 3 times as hard as everyone else. But you can do it. Because I did. Because my girl Yazzie did. Right? Because my dearest friend and godmother of my babies, Robin, did. We have been there paving the way for you. My daddy paved the way for you in law enforcement. You want to be that person who responds to a call, know that you're going to teach whoever it is with dignity, with respect. You're going to be trauma informed. You're going to be there for them. Then you do it too. We all have different talents in this community. My husband is an amazing teacher, and he teaches the babies to have confidence. He teaches them to love learning and to love themselves and to love their community. That is his gift. My gift, I am a trial attorney and I am a reformer. And that is my gift to you. That is why I'm running. I'm not going to promise you something I won't do, can't do, or have no intentions on doing. I am not my opponents. They will tell you what's going to make you feel good.
You don't look like them either.
I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it.
All right. Listen, y'all. Raw talk with the potentially top prosecutor in the county. Miss Slay, thank you for coming on. And you actually rocked my world with some knowledge that I didn't even, people been in my ear, but I had to hear from you. I had to put myself in your shoes, not as a female, but as a candidate. And where would that money flow and how would that money flow? I understand. Because honestly, his dollar don't buy your mission. His dollar don't buy your genuineness. His dollar didn't buy who you was out of your mother's womb at all. And I don't think no man's dollar can actually define a woman like you. You and that husband of yours, y'all take care of them babies, and we gonna try to be out here being safe too. We gonna bring the heat to everybody. I know you couldn't answer them questions. I was gonna do a lightning round, but I think God struck me and said, don't do that. I know you can't speak about Sheriff Clayton, but I gotta put this on the flow. If we have a sheriff, a prosecutor, elected officials in the county working hand in hand, there would not be no person like me live on Facebook or social media platforms speaking about grievances from top people. If we had a powerful person in office just like you, anybody would know that you're not gonna sit there, and especially to another African American, hold his life down forever. And a preacher told me, he said, dang, you must have really bothered Brian Mackey. I said, how in the hell, how'd that bother him? He's still trying to hold you down. Maybe he didn't like the man that I was that he wished he could have been. Or the activist. Or the person who can go to prison for somebody else's dope and don't snitch. I don't hold it against him or Timothy Conyers, who screwed me up and screwed me over on all of my child support cases. Gave me the hardest time. I was a single parent. He interviewed my son, dogged me. But those are the type of things that I would like for you to continue to watch. If, when you get elected, and be just as transparent. Well, let me use Charlemagne the God, his analogy. Keep that same damn energy that you got right here live on I Thought You Knew. But when somebody come to you and say, hey, I've been aggrieved by somebody within the county, and I need you to have fresh eyes on it. Because there are going to be a lot of things probably going to come out, maybe criminal, maybe not. And everybody who's listening to this is going to believe, trust, and hope that the next prosecutor have transparency, just like you speak today. Shit, you can get everybody vote. You can get everybody vote. I guarantee.
You know, well, I tell you this, I promise you, I always will have fresh eyes, and my energy for my work and for criminal justice started long before I even met Brian Mackey. So I learned how to prosecute cases in that office. I learned how to work with crime victims in that office. And I learned where our system is broken. But it was up to me to figure out how to fix it, because nobody else that had the authority to do it wanted to fix it with me. So I left. So I left to fix it on my own, and now I'm ready to come home. And I'll tell you what, we can talk about a progressive agenda. We can talk about that, right? We can say, you know, one candidate wants to end cash bail. Well, I'm gonna tell you what, I hope everyone is listening. The prosecutor has no authority to do this.
Say it again. Wait a minute. She said end cash. One candidate for prosecutor want to end cash bail. Wait a minute. I think this was something that ran across my radar.
Yeah.
Say the reason why once again. This is called experience.
This is called experience matters, right?
Right.
The bail system is set by court rule. So you need an act of the Supreme Court in Michigan or a legislative change to end cash bail. Now, I believe the cash bail system is flawed. It's inherently racist. It is bad, but we don't have another law. And if somebody says, well, they did it in Washington, D.C., such and such and such and such, don't even, hey, they may have, but they changed the law to do it. One prosecutor of 83 counties, when you add in the attorney general, 84, cannot say, I'm eliminating cash bail and it's just done. It doesn't work like that. That's unlawful. That's against the law. But somebody will tell you that because it make you feel good. It'll say, oh, that's what I agree with that too. Everyone agrees that the system is racist.
She's educating you guys. Y'all listen.
I'm gonna drop some knowledge.
She dropped the knowledge.
Michigan Court Rule 6.106. You can look it up in Google. MCR 6106, subsection F, and it says you can be held for no bond if you murder someone, if you rape somebody, CSE in the first degree, or if you are on probation or parole and you are alleged to commit a violent felony. So that domestic violence victim that comes before you and is brave enough to share their truth with you, and you're able to charge a misdemeanor domestic violence, and then you hear about that same person calling from jail saying, when I get out, I'm gonna kill you. When I get out, I'm going to do this to your babies. If you don't use cash bail right now, you have no way to keep them. And he just says, we simply won't allow people out if they're a danger to the community. That is not ethical, it's not lawful, and there's no place for it. But you don't know that if you don't practice criminal law.
Well, we gonna
you don't want you don't want it. And I will tell you this. You go in, you're going to have a heart procedure, right? You're going to have surgery. Do you want a person who has read about it, heard about it, watched Netflix, read the book, The New Jim Crow? Is that what you want? Or do you want somebody who's been doing heart surgery for 15 years?
Well, you just
don't send me to an ankle doctor if I need stents.
You just dropped the mic on that one right there. That was the
I'm just saying, like, it's time out for this. It's time out for being dishonest to the community. It's time out for telling people that I still work in the prosecutor's office when you're making phone calls. Wow. It is time out for having forums that are only hosted by your supporters. So you want to hear the truth? You know what? Here we are tonight. You're asking the hard questions.
I want to hear that.
This is the most candid I've been able to be, because I get to answer the truth. I get to tell you more than 10 seconds on the answer. This is what we're talking about. This is a difference. It's the difference between live or Memorex. Remember that? Remember that?
She gave the show a plug. I love that. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the space. We can't afford in this county, when the state that we're in, to have the top law enforcement official have to learn what the difference between assault and felonious assault is.
Gotcha.
You want to say we're going to charge things ethically when you don't even know the crime statutes? How will you know? How can you advise the cops at 3 o'clock in the morning when something's going down on somebody's rights? How will you know? How do you sit next to a small child who's just been sexually assaulted and teach your assistant prosecutors on how to interact, how to engage, and how to put forth that evidence so that you can hold a child rapist accountable?
That is true.
You know?
That is true.
You have to, this is not about ideas. This is not a social experiment. This is real life. This is our community, and our community deserves somebody with experience, with compassion, and somebody who is not afraid to make the changes in adverse conditions. Because I'll believe you, when I came up with those programs and we were running it for the first time with adults ever in this county, people didn't like it. I don't care, we kept doing it. And now they love it. We are helping people address what the root cause of their justice involvement is.
That was a mama.
I'm telling it.
That was a mama. She'll feed you something. You might not like it, but after a while, you'll love it. That sounds great.
Love it.
That sounds great.
Mr. Bridges, how we treat each other matters.
That's right.
And that is the tenet and hallmark of not just my platform, but my entire career. Now, I will tell you this, not everyone has loved what I've had to say over the years, but I'm going to tell it to you straight. I'm going to tell you, be forthcoming about where I am and where I am going. There's no hiding this in you. I'm going to follow the law. And when you do the things that you do in the interest of justice, you ain't making a mistake.
There you go.
You ain't making a mistake. So our county deserves this experience.
That was 2 mics that was dropped. Wow. This is my closing statement. I just got to put it on the floor. This was fun. This was fun because
I had fun too.
A lot of myth busting just been busted. It just busted all out. Anyhow, this is probably the rudest question that I'm going to ask tonight, and I ain't sparing no candidate. So go on, and like I said, the disclaimer started in the beginning, so here it is. In Washtenaw County or any place in history that you know, do you know of any ex-felon that would actually bring on all of the candidates for Washtenaw County prosecuting? Unfiltered, no bullshit. Do you know any black man that will bring 3 county prosecutors together and give them that platform, that hard questions and answers?
Well, I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that you did. I'm glad for the free space. It's been nice not to be cut off after 90 seconds, not really have a time to share the real deal.
I already told you. Did we pre-rehearse? We ain't pre-rehearsed.
You said we're gonna give you some space and you're gonna have time to talk, and I was like, I've been waiting.
and I was waiting for her to squirm, y'all. Y'all know I don't hold my tongue. She know I've already talked to her real well tonight. I'm very satisfied with this conversation. This was a better than a conversation. This was a history lesson. This was class. This was actually the myth busting that I needed, because a lot of people say stuff. A lot of people call you and say what they heard or what they might think they heard.
Mm-hmm.
But in all, bottom line, if everything was true or if everything was false, experience matter. And if you got the experience and the history with prosecuting, you were a prosecutor. That's what a blind voter would need to hear, that you have experience. If we all was blind today and you heard her voice and she said, I was a prosecutor, and her opponents weren't. You do the math. This is no pre-endorsement. It's facts. They asked me to come raw. Have I? Did I hit any softball questions to you?
No, you let us have the space, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Slay, for coming on.
I got one more plug.
Go
This
ahead.
is great if you are all hearing this, but we need to vote. We need to vote.
Vote
if
like
you're not,
your life depend on it.
Vote like our ancestors died for it. Damn it, they did. Vote like they died for it.
I echo
Don't
that statement.
mistake this opportunity that you have. The opportunity to have your voice heard. And there are some things that need to be said. We're going to leave it at this. If you're not registered to vote, vote411.org. You can register to vote. Now, I'm going to be cautious with you. I don't know. I get a lot of snail mail these days, and so our votes are coming in slower than our mail is slower. So if you get an absentee application, and I hope you do because it's safe to vote at home, use the drop boxes and drop it off at your designated place.
Oh, we will.
In Ipsy Township, 7200 South Huron, you drop it off there. So,
we will.
Because if it comes in on the 5th or 6th, it won't be counted.
We will.
So make sure that you drop your vote off, and everyone, please, of course, I'm asking for your support on August 4th, but what I would be appreciative if you just vote.
Wait a minute.
We have that opportunity.
You had the flow. We was talking about money being donated to your campaign. Well, why don't you tell the viewers where they can make a donation to your campaign at? Give them some information. The flow is yours.
Thank you. So if you're interested in joining Team Slay, and I hope that you are, Arianne Slay, ARIANNE, Slay, SLAY.com. You can sign up for a yard sign. You can sign up to host a Zoom party. It's free, where you invite your friends on Zoom and we can talk about whatever questions that you have. And that's a good way to get to know me more as a candidate. Welcome to do that. It's a free thing to do. The yard sign is free. If you want to make phone calls on behalf of the campaign to call your friends and family and encourage them to get out and vote and to learn about the candidates, do that. Or if you're only able, then we are made up of very small contributions. That's how we've gotten this far. Campaigns are expensive. We sent out one mailer, and that was almost $29,000, so that everyone could get something in their mailbox. But $2 or $3, $5, all that adds up. So I'm incredibly grateful for that if you're able to help spread the message. And if you're not, call your friends, shoot a text message, let them see this, send them a copy of this. Mr. Bridges said he's going to make this available by recording. Record it. Let them see it. Let them see who you're supporting and who you're voting for.
That's right.
But most importantly, make sure you vote at home now or on August 4th. I appreciate your support. Join Team Slay. You will be in good company.
Y'all heard it live from Miss Slay. the being candidate for top cop prosecutor, prosecuting attorney. We need someone in there that's going to do the right thing, experience, and somebody who loved their community. Thank you, Ms. Slay.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges.
See you soon.
Bless you. Have a good evening, sir.
You too. All right.
All right, bye-bye.